beloved brothers and sisters. Joining in. I was going to say today's lesson, just done a lesson for our sacred sisterhood container, and I actually very much enjoy that facilitation style, so I'm just going to drop into the consciousness and this stream of information that does facilitate from that space. I have multiple facilitation styles, in case you haven't noticed. It's quite fascinating when you're a channel and you have multiple consciousness. Now, so this is actually to do with the topic of conversation that we are about to talk to. When you are any being, you have multiple personalities as a human being. You have multiple identities, and you have multiple consciousness or energetic signatures that you can access that are A, a part of you, or B, a part of creation. So as you're arriving into this space, I promised after yesterday's post, I spoke into not all women are goddess. And the reason I spoke into this is because it's important to not create confusion within oneself and to create an unrealistic expectation on oneself and to cause unnecessary pressure upon oneself, and to be very honest in where you're at in your own evolutionary journey, but also where you're heading. So yesterday I had a discovery call with a potential initiate in the purity of Isis. And these discovery calls are quite amazing and profound because they are a connection call with the oracle. And so the oracle aspect comes through. The oracle is my oracle consciousness. So the oracle is not the that I am talking to you here in the now, but the oracle is a stream of consciousness that has the capacity to move through time and space in a forward front vision, in a prophetic vision, to see the possible hurdles. Some people could say this is a psychic expression, and to look into the future and say, this is what's projected on the current timeline, how do we feel about this, and share the blocks, the expansion, and the path ahead. And you can gift through insight a very clear direction or confirmation for someone in their own unique divine soul's purpose. I absolutely am super grateful for this gift in activating energy blueprints, which is the manual, or another client this morning said it's the menu to her personality and to why she came here. And I was like, I like that menu. Yes, yum. So she had that it's a menu. The energy blueprint is a menu that you get to pick from and move through until eventually you do transcend your energy blueprint. So the energy blueprint is what will hold your universal consciousness. This is a beautiful gift. I was just like, I have so many things I want to share now. I was like, do I even want to do this live? Yes, apparently I do. So going back to, how do you know the different consciousnesses? How do you know who you are? How do you know what you're communicating with? Right now, you are communicating with my human consciousness. You are communicating here with Gaia Ariati in her embodied, I was gonna say discombobulated way. And I love showing up in this aspect of myself, that I love to be able to speak to you in a very human lens and express to you in this way so that you can recognize that we can be all things at once, and that the human experience is about being human. It's not about being a Zen master sitting on a mountain. Going back to the client yesterday, the question was, staying on topic, the question was how I need some clarity on the aspect of what is or who is the consciousness of Isis. You claim to be the reincarnation of the goddess Isis. My other mentor says that she's merged with the consciousness of Isis. Many individuals communicate and say that they are from the Isis lineage and they have the I am Isis. And the word she said, which is what triggered the post to share was an all-woman, a goddess. I understand that, but I need some more clarity. And so I'm going to share with you what I shared with her. First of all, not all women are goddess. Now, you can either see this as a positive, a negative, or a truth. The goddess signature is an energy frequency, like all frequencies. You have a frequency of joy. You have a frequency of priestess. You have a frequency of narcissist. You have a frequency of dark masculine. Everything that you can imagine in this beautiful reality that we call Earth, or the third dimension, has an energy signature for a consciousness. So that is a consciousness. So the goddess is a consciousness. Now, to hold that and to embody that in the human experience, one has to have evolved to that level of awareness to anchor and be that. Now, the goddess signature is and originates from the original Anunnaki, the sky gods that came to Earth and incarnated on Earth. They were a more highly evolved being, not from this galaxy. The Anunnaki are creator beings. Creator beings exist in the 11th dimension and above. So a goddess in our 3D form has to evolve to the 11th dimension and above through their time-space continuum and experience in the creation space. This is only anchored into the physical. To have a true god or goddess, you have to be able to evolve yourself to actually hold and anchor that. I don't call myself a goddess because I am yet to anchor that frequency in my physical. I can't hold it, I can't maintain it. I am working towards being the goddess incarnate, but I know the commitment, the ascended mastery, and what that means to actually become that. To become the god or the goddess incarnate, and this is not God source creator, you must be in your 5th dimensional physical vessel, crystalline structure to hold that frequency. Now, you also cannot hold that if you A, haven't already evolved to that and you're remembering it and anchoring it down, or B, working in the opposite lens where you're evolving up and you bring that up and into yourself. Okay, so you can work downwards or you can work upwards. You can remember or you can evolve. And we are all at different states of our journey. Now, when it comes to consciousness, there's a few things that multidimensionally, if you want to understand how to evolve your frequency, where you're at, who you are, that this will make more sense. As a human being, you sit in the universal consciousness. You sit in universal consciousness, which is your 3D experience. However, your universal consciousness is created from the incarnation cycles and the ancestry memory that you have on this earth plane. That is one consciousness sphere. So that is one area that you can communicate from. That's one area that you can travel through time and space. That's one consciousness that has a level of awareness and information around polarization, earth medicine, the understanding of the human psyche, understanding this dimension. You then have a galactic consciousness. So your galactic consciousness, I would also like to mention that your universal consciousness also includes the 4th dimension, because the 4th dimensional plane is the time and space in between here and here. You actually, the 4th dimension is considered a layering of universal. It's where you basically, we won't go into too much detail about that, but your 4th dimensional awareness. So if you are someone who communicates with spirit, if you are someone that sees dead people, that was weird. then you will have that awareness of how to speak to spirit and be a medium. A medium is very universal consciousness. Priestess is very universal consciousness. It's using the three-dimensional magic to evolve yourself. You can be super, 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 super magical in your 3-dimension. You can master enlightenment or samadhi just in your universal consciousness. There are levels of enlightenment. There are levels of transcendence. So you can be as a super evolved being just in the 3D. Then you have your galactic. Now your galactic consciousness, not everyone has a galactic consciousness. The human race does not have a galactic consciousness because they have not existed beyond this dimensional sphere. So they cannot have a galactic consciousness or go into that time-space awareness until they evolve beyond the purification process, which is transcendence, which is opening all 7 chakra systems into a higher state of pure enlightenment. It's like, this is what our gurus talk about. Our gurus talk about the 7 chakra systems and coming into enlightenment and transcendence. That is very human. That is 3D enlightenment. That's what it is. It's beautiful. It's amazing. You can live in peace. You don't have to evolve beyond that. And you can master such a beautiful expression of being, just being enlightenment in the 3D. Now, when you evolve beyond and come into a transcendence of moving up from your transcending from your 7 chakras, that's when you have the opportunity to leave Earth and you can reincarnate into a galactic expression if you're ascending up, if that's how you're evolving. So the galactic expression, for those who resonate with the starseed concept, for me, I've never resonated with being a starseed. If you resonate with being a starseed, if you resonate really strongly with one of the planets, it's because you've spent a lot of time there. You've gained a lot of information. There's a lot of technology there for you. Being in the galactic consciousness is accessing the consciousness of this galaxy and all of the different constellations and experiences that have created up that version of the self. So you have your universal self, then you have your galactic self. Now, a lot of the 144 are from the galactic consciousness. The majority, around 82%, are in that range. And that is why the starseed movement is so big, right? The starseed movement is because we come from a primary constellation to bring our medicine and magic and help to evolve the human race, or help to keep it in some form of evolution or growth. That's to experience Earth. There's lots of many reasons as to why the 144 come. The galactic consciousness holds information, technologies, and abilities that you cannot access in the universal. So as a 3D gifted being, a medicine woman, the priestess is a very good one. The embodied medicine of the 3D reality. A lot of healers have this access. They're still very much in this plane of receiving source, and it's a vibrational frequency. They are not accessing these galactic templates, and it's not an access of technology that is around light technology or geometry or the awareness of how light is interpreted into numerology. It doesn't explain universal law to the level. Whilst you're in your universal consciousness, you are not understanding universal law. Universal law sits in the 10th dimension. So this galactic consciousness opens a whole nother avenue of experiencing access points, juncture points, timelines. And that is a part of the being that is I guess, your more galactic expression. And some will see themselves as something very different in those galactic senses. And then you have beings that are from the unity consciousness field. The unity consciousness beings are what you would call the fallen angels. Many of them are considered Luciferian. The Luciferian energy is just the angel that came down to earth and got a little distracted in the sins of the human experience and forgot why they came, or got a little entangled in the matter, which is what it was. It was nothing more than, as you drop from a high frequency, a dimensional plane, into the third dimension, you've dropped through multiple consciousness levels to come into this state of being. And it's very hard to maintain your unified source self in a density like this. So how this translate into, how do you know what your consciousness is? How do you know who you're communicating with? How do you know who you are? You are required to become aware of of your own unique ways of being in those fields. If you are communicating with a galactic consciousness that is outside of your own being and yourself, you will see and experience it as an energy that is separate from you. So you may resonate with it, you may be able to communicate with it, and it may appear to be a visitor, but you know that there is a separation point from the self. Now, sometimes when we start to communicate with these different consciousness levels, there is a confusion within the self that we might see an angelic expression of our own self, and we perceive that that's an angel visiting us that is not us. But there is a difference in the way you will receive it in your physical experience. If you receive a angelic expression of yourself that comes outside of you, it's because you are yet to integrate with it. You're yet to merge with it, and it comes as an outside source so that you, as a human universal consciousness, can digest that you are an ascended master, an angelic being here to be incarnated and embodied in this experience. When I first started communicating with my monadic self in channel, I was told that I was communicating with a very high frequency that goes beyond the words of ascended mastery, angelic or light beings, and that it was ineffable to the human mind. That was perceived to be outside of the self from my interpretation. However, it was received through me. So I received the information through me. It came through my heart. It came through my cells. It came through my knowing. I didn't know what I was communicating with. I couldn't possibly perceive it was me, but it came through me. I knew on some level that that was me. It took much cultivation of my channel to recognize and receive the day that they said, we're no longer going to talk to you in a third person context because you're communicating with yourself, that I was like, that's a lot of information to take on. How can I be that wise? Right? And so, flies, often they've got tracking devices in them. Just saying. I did not put a protection field around this transmission. My apologies, source. Variante takerianai okoshu tukoria satakiandianai meheshkerianai no okoria tatatai keria tatakariate ashatatakarianai mahasate andianai. coming back. So when you are accessing, so your universal consciousness is your past lives. You have galactic past lives, but they're not really called past lives. They're past experiences. They're fragmentations from a different time-space continuum that are held within not your soul, but within your galactic consciousness or your higher self. So there are levels of communication. Your soul is universal. Your higher self is galactic. Your monad is cosmic. So pending where you are in your evolutionary scale and what you've come to communicate with and merge with will give you an interpretation of where you're at, where you're cultivating, and how you know to trust within yourself. So for the sister that asked, how do I know that I'm the reincarnation of Isis? Now, one, no being that is as evolved at a cosmic level or a galactic level wants to ever claim these things. They doubt themselves, they don't trust, they won't share until there is such a push from Source, from God, to express it. Until it's come into the I am, the knowing. And until there's this like, I don't want to do this, but I'm being asked and called to share this for whatever that reason is. Source knows, and usually you find out over time. But when you have the ability to question, when you have the ability to go, how do I know that that was real? How do I know that that communication you have to show it to me, Source. I need to know that this information is true and real. I declare that I only communicate truth. So if I've already made a declaration that I will only communicate from what I have come to know to be true, then anything outside of that is not something that I'm going to share in this space. The things that have taken time to come into the I am knowing are things that I hold back until I can share undeniable in the medicine of my wisdom, and this is my mastery, right? I don't share from a place of something that I don't know. Now, the Isis consciousness, and say we look at any consciousness that is we'll just use Isis because that's what's present. There was only one physical incarnation of Isis, right? There was not multiple. There was one. There was one human, extraterrestrial, star, god, alien, whatever you would like to say. There was only one. Just like there was only one Jesus. Just like there was only one Buddha. Just like there's only one you and there's only one me. So there is only one human vessel that can hold that consciousness. So when you look forward to the now, we all have a capacity to tune into any consciousness. I can tune into my car and become the consciousness of my car if I decide to. What I have to do is I actually have to eject out of my own body and use my light body to merge with the car and become the car and have a conversation with it. When I am communicating or traveling through the quantum field, I am exiting my body to travel through time and space in a way to access information and reclaim aspects of myself or others to assist in them bringing back the fullness of their consciousness and find the distortions that sit within their field. So we all have the ability to communicate not only with Isis, but to eject ourselves outside of our body and be in her field, because she is a consciousness. So you can leave your field and step in to the Isis consciousness. That does not mean that you are her, nor does it mean that it is a good idea to merge with her. because you can learn by doing this. Now, unless you know what you're doing, you could be putting yourself into some trouble, because you're going and dropping into things that you maybe don't have enough discernment as to why. What I would recommend is communicating with beings so that you are you and they are them, and you learn from them that way. If they are truly wanting to share with you and teach you and have the intention of union, they will not ask you to merge, exchange gifts, or that you have to sacrifice something to receive information. That is trickery. That is false light. If you're being guided to hop inside of someone or something, that is a warning sign. Now, if you are receiving through yourself an aspect of a vision, there's a difference between having a vision that comes from the inside out than the outside in. And this is understanding the torus field. If you can understand this torus field and the way the energy moves in the torus field, you can understand the auric field and how we move and we interpret energy. If you are receiving that energy from the inside out, if it is your consciousness, if it is you, you will know, because you will feel everything like it was the now. You will feel the heartbreak, you will feel the pain, you will feel the absolute undenying knowing, even when your human lens will come out of it and try and talk you out of it. And then when you talk yourself out of it, Source will guide you back into it over and over and over and over again until you know that that was you. Until you know that whatever part of that is affecting your current now experience. The only reason to go back is to see who you are now, to reclaim the lost pieces, the abilities and the information, and to correct any of the timeline distortions that you have created. For anyone who wants to or claims to be the Isis consciousness, I would love to know how much work they've actually done in those timelines to correct all of the distortions. Because there is so much distortion in ancient Egypt. A lot of that's being cleaned up, and there has been a lot of helpers. There's been a lot of people that have chosen, or souls, there's been a lot of souls that have chosen to carry other people's consciousness in their vessel, in their cells, to help clear and purify it, to speed the timeline up and then give it back. So we can copy, we can mutate, and we can clone consciousness, which is what also makes it extremely confusing to go, who the fuck am I? And really, it doesn't matter. The past version of yourself doesn't matter to who you are now. If you can come into here in presence and you can remember who you are in your universal self and embody who you are in the here and now without going back, that is amazing. Because that means that you've let go of the story of who you are not. That means that you've let go of the karmic imprint. That means that you have not allowed others to tell you who you are and who you aren't. Some of us have had to go back because what we are and what we are walking in this reality required over and over and over confirmation, validation, and reminders of why we are here on this planet. Because we're not like everyone else. And that's the humbling and also really uncomfortable thing, is that none of us are the same, regardless. But it allows us to go, who is my consciousness? Now, I don't recommend, if you are using a consciousness such as a deity that's training you up, be very, very, very aware. Be very discerning of the teachings, because a lot of these deities are not in their purified form. The Isis consciousness was not purified until December. So that consciousness, anyone who's trained with her before December, I can guarantee you has distortions in the teachings. So that mystery school teaching needs to be evolved, looked at, and reconciled. If you have been initiated by the true Isis consciousness, know that there is an aspect of her highest monadic self that could have been guiding you, but check in with what you've learned. Are you really resonating within your own source frequency? Your own guide is always going to be more powerful and more aligned in resonance than learning from another being. I would never go and learn from the consciousness that is Jesus or Yeshua, no matter how much love I have for him, because I can commune and communicate directly with God. That doesn't make any sense. God, source creator, provides the information. And if you have these abilities, choose God. If you're choosing other beings outside of yourself, it's because you are contracted, you are entrapped, you are confused, and you are possibly needing some visitation or remembrance. But if you are training with a being that is not your own consciousness, because your own consciousness should technically be initiating you, your own monadic self through your own source channel, nothing outside of yourself. And that's why even when we go to these modalities, even when we go through these temples of initiation, this is what I do, right? I guide and teach and initiate people, but I always say, follow your own guidance. You are your own unique expression of source. What I say, although I know I have a very clear channel, listen to your truth. So as you recognize this within yourself, being very clear, when you're seeing these beings, are they me or are they a being outside of me? What is their intention? Why are you here? Have a real conversation. Feel into your heart. And if it is a being that is you, okay? If it's, say, a mantis consciousness. I had another client this week that we were having a conversation and she was talking around we were talking about balance, and I was like, oh, you have a super balanced energy. I was like, where are you from? You are a starseed. And I was like, oh, she goes up and she says, I'm told I'm mantis. And I was like, of course you are. Mantis beings are the ones that got caught between the galactic war. And so they are in the middle. And if you look at a mantis, that's how they wave, right? They go, balance point. That's what a mantis being is. So the mantis consciousness that she had actually, from her higher self level, started to communicate with us by throwing stuff around the room, which was quite funny, to get our attention because we were just having a conversation. When I tuned in, I was able to say, okay, so you're aware that this being has been trying to communicate with you, but you're seeing it as something outside of yourself. Feel your body. It is directly above you. It is all around you. It is in your field. A being that is not of your own consciousness will be outside of your field. You will have to journey outside of yourself. You will have to remote view. You will have to astral travel. There will have to be some sense of not being in the self. When you are communicating with your own self, whether it's fully integrated, healed, and embodied, It will be here, all within you, every cell of you. So there is a lot of information there. It is not exactly the most basic conversation on consciousness. But the reason that it's important is because that's where you can communicate to. So if you're mastering the 3 dimension, that's great. There's no judgment. It means you're mastering polarity. You're mastering the human psyche, masculine and feminine. You're mastering this wave of union within the self in this very physical representation of mother wound, father wound union. If you are evolving and you're spending time in the galactic, it's because you're cleansing, clearing, and purifying the galactic consciousness that requires to be brought down. You are not required to spend your time up there. That's not the idea. The idea is bringing your galactic consciousness into your here now moment and starting to bring that medicine into the physical reality. And if you are cosmic, then you are here to walk the path of Christ. And that is a path of full devotion. That is a path of absolutely nothing else will do other than walking in God's word, name, and standing in that source connection. It doesn't matter where you're at, but be honest so that you can work with your consciousness in a way that is supportive to your growth, supportive to others, and where you stop judging yourself in comparison to the spiritual community and all of the interesting perspectives that are shared. If you enjoyed this live and you would like more multidimensional training, if you are a quantum healer or someone that has access to the quantum realms and you would really like to be more discerning, more safe, and improve your skills, there will be a mastermind and a multidimensional education series that starts. That will be starting in the next few weeks. And there is a requirement, there is a base level awareness on how to work in these realms. If this feels like it's a little out of your reach, that's perfect and beautiful, because there is other opportunities. You can work with the purity of Isis if you're resonating at the embodiment side of womanhood, if you're a woman, and you're starting to really come into the power part of your journey. There is still a lot of 3-dimensional expressions there, but there is an awareness that the priestess evolves into the high priestess, the conduit, and the oracle. So it is a step-by-step evolution into a higher expression. So the priestess is 3-dimensional universal consciousness, which we've just unpacked. The high priestess is the highest evolved expression of that embodied wisdom, so you can teach it. The conduit is the galactic consciousness and the ability to channel up to the 12th dimension. And the oracle is the cosmic consciousness that can see past, present, future, all time, space dimensions and bring that information in. So that is the female in interpretation. There is obviously the male pole in a different way. You can say priest, high priest, however you would like to express it. And in the upcoming, there is going to be the mainstream modality of the DAC process, which is not actually very mainstream at all, but it will be worded in a way that is digestible for the human being. And it is a structural process of how to do shadow work or how to descend to the core wound or the core distortion, to locate that to transcend it, release it, and give it up, and then to ascend and give back and reclaim gifts, abilities, or frequencies that have been lost, and complete an energetic cycle, an identity, a pattern, a program. So if any of those things are feeling like you are resonating and you enjoyed this live, please make sure you comment what you would like to receive below and share if it resonates. All right, I love you. Ahava.